Hi everyone, Linda here. I just got finished making 2 broken glass Christmas trees. I made these from a vase similar to this that I picked up from the thrift store. I see these up at the thrift store every day. They're like 99 cents to $1.99. And I ended up using 1.5 of these to make these 2 pretty Christmas trees. And I made a few mistakes along the way and I had to go back and repair a few things, but didn't they turn out pretty? And if you'd like to find out how I made them, what mistakes I made, and what I did to fix them, follow along and you'll see exactly how I did it. Isn't that pretty? So with this frame, I have to take the staples out of the back of the frame in order to get the backing off, and then I clean it up with a little bit of Windex. And then I take some caulk, silicone caulk, and I run it around the perimeter of the back of the frame. And this serves 2 purposes. It keeps the glass adhered to the frame, and it's also used to prevent any leaks of the resin when I pour that on the top of the glass. Oh my gosh, this second frame was such a good deal. I got this at a garage sale. Everything was half off the price they had marked. I think it was marked $2.50, and I got it for $1.25, and it's such a pretty frame. So first I had to get the frame cleaned up, and honestly the best way to get that stuff off the front is with a razor blade. And then I cleaned it up with a little bit of Windex, and I did the same to this frame, sealing the perimeter with the silicone caulk. So this green vase I picked up from Goodwill for 99 cents. Usually I smash the glass up outside in the garage, but just for filming purposes I brought it in. I put it in the box. You should always cover it with something before you hit it with a hammer so that no glass flies up. You should have safety glasses on. So the tool with the red handle is called a nipper. It's used to reshape glass or break glass up into smaller pieces. You should always be wearing safety glasses when you're doing this. I originally bought the tool to use for stained glass. A lot of people who do stained glass use this tool. It's a real common tool with stained glass. The next thing I do is flip the frame over and put painter's tape around the perimeter as an extra precaution against resin leaks, and you'll see why that's important in a few minutes. Now with this first tree I make, all I'm doing is taking pieces of glass and kind of piling them on top of each other and then pushing the glass together so that it's in the shape of a Christmas tree. And in a minute I take those 2 larger pieces off and just put it all small pieces. And this is probably the easiest way to do it. And then I take the nipper tool and cut some of the larger pieces of glass smaller so that they will fit better. It looks like I'm doing it real fast, but honestly it probably took me about a half an hour. Now I think the higher you can pile the glass, the prettier it looks and it fills all the little spaces in. Then to decorate it I use these tiny gold balls that I had gotten from, I believe, Michael's. No, I got these from the Dollarama, I think the place was called. Anyway, I felt like it needed to have something extra. Next, I'm ready to do the resin. What I'm using in this project is Dr. Crafty resin. I've tried out multiple resins off of Amazon, and all the craft resins are really pretty much the same. So while using the resin, I wear gloves, I use a respirator. It's in your best interest to use a respirator and do it in a well-ventilated area. They're 1-to-1 ratios. You put equal amounts of the resin as you do the hardener. When you get the 2 of them in the same container, then you mix them for 2.5 minutes. What you'll notice is they're clear when you put them in, and then as you start to mix them, they become cloudy. And then as they're all mixed, you'll see they're clear again. And that's how you know that it's totally mixed. So the slower you mix it, the less bubbles you'll get. You should be scraping the sides and the bottom as you mix. And like I said, when it's totally clear, it's ready to pour over your project. When I'm pouring over glass, I usually use a spoon to kind of divvy it out to the different areas so I don't use too much. And then I go ahead and spread it around the edges first to make sure the edges get covered. They say the resin is self-leveling, and they kind of do level out, but you really have to push the resin up into the corners and around the edges so that everything gets covered. I end up adding a few more of the gold balls to the tree, and then I take some snow or glitter and put it at the bottom to simulate snow, and then I hit it with the heat gun. I see a few bubbles. So my heat gun and most heat guns have two settings, low and high. I put it to the low setting because if you put it to the high setting, it'll actually blow the resin up over the side of the frame. And then on the back of the heat gun is the temperature setting, and I usually put it up to about 500 degrees. It can take up to 5 minutes to blow the bubbles out, just depending on how many bubbles you have. Once it's done, it needs to sit on a level surface for 24 hours at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I decided that it needed a little something more, so I had bought these little tiny bells from Hobby Lobby. So I took some E6000 and I glued each of those, this was after it had already dried, to the tree. So if you look at the very top of the tree, I'm not real happy with the way it came in and kind of comes to a point. So in this next segment, I'll show you what I did to fix it. And this was after it had dried. I went ahead and corrected what I thought was wrong with it. This area right up here kind of came in real close. And so what I did was I took 2 more pieces of glass and I used E6000 and put one here and one here, and I think it makes more of a gradual increase or decrease in size in the Christmas tree, and I think that really did the trick. So the next tree I did just a little bit different. Now this is the other half of the same vase that we used for the first tree. But this time I decided I wanted to see the branches sticking out a little bit. So I took some of the longer pieces and put those down first to shape the tree. And I was just showing you that when you lay it down, instead of the it being bumped up, have it so it's like a scoop, because then the pieces of glass will lay in it instead of rolling off of it. And then after I got the shape of the tree, then I just started piling up smaller pieces of glass on top of that. Then once I had it the way I wanted it, I was ready to do the resin. And this is just like I did in the first one. Again, I used the Dr. Crafty resin. And once it was all mixed, I put it over the glass and then I ran it around the perimeter of the frame. Then I used the heat gun to blow the bubbles out. And I had found these little silver and red teeny tiny crystal things, and I sprinkled those all over the tree just to give it a little something extra. And then I put some white sprinkles around the perimeter and at the bottom to simulate some snow, and I ended up putting an angel at the top. So now you'll see why it's important to put the tape around it. If you've noticed, I forgot to put the tape around the back and it started to leak. So I hurried up and got it onto another board and cleaned it around the edges with some alcohol. Rubbing alcohol will clean up the resin, and you can see where it leaked all out there. I was lucky enough that enough of it stayed on that it was able to hold everything in place. So when it was done, I thought the glass was just too thin on it. It just needed more glass. The more you pile on it, the better it looks. So what I did was, after it was totally dry, I broke up another vase and I put a bunch more glass on top and then some more of the sprinkles, and then I poured some more resin over it, and I think it turned out much better being thick like that, don't you? I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope you learned something from my mistakes. Thanks for watching.